I just wanted to ask you about, kind of the resiliency of this team the last couple of games. With Virginia Tech, we were down 12. Yesterday, we were down about
12.
10, and then 5 with 2 minutes to go. And just, the guys just never seem to lose focus, take bad shots, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I think one of the things that has happened is that the team has developed some trust in each other and good understanding of what's expected. And there was a time yesterday, very much like at North Carolina, where we were so pumped up and a little bit anxious that we played a little bit out of character. Part of it was due to the incredible shooting ability and scoring ability of North Carolina State, where we felt like we have to match them. And the faster the game got, the more it was in their favor, because they didn't have to face our set defense. And as these games unwind, the more you win, the more you find ways to win, because your team is persevering. They realize that the game's not over, we still have a chance, we got to keep playing. And whether we're down 12 with 12 minutes to go in the game or 5 with a minute to go in the game, in basketball, that's only 2 possessions. And I thought our defense in those last few minutes was very good. Durant Scott's steal led to a layup, the press, Shane Larkin's steal, which led to a layup, the defensive rebound that Kenny Kaji got that prevented them from getting another basket when we trailed by 1. And then, of course, Reggie's tip-in, being in the right place at the right time and do the right thing. It would have been very easy for him to come down with that rebound and go back up, and the clock might have expired. So it's I think a great win for our team and for our program, and for it to be televised on CBS. I don't know when's the last time that's happened. When was it?
2008 NCAA tournament.
The last time we played on CBS was 2008 in the NCAA tournament. When's the last time we played during the regular season?
About 4 years before that.
So we're talking, 9 years ago. So it's nice to get that kind of exposure for our program.
Coach Shane was telling me yesterday, and I think Julian mentioned it too, that when you guys were down by 10 and you called a timeout or whatever, you guys were over there, and you told them, calm down. Basically, your advice to them was calm down, play your game, have fun, and then you said, I love you guys. They all mentioned that particular little speech or whatever really calmed them down. Can you talk about how you decide in those moments of the games what you're going to say?
Well, before the game at the shoot-around, the level of energy and electricity at our shoot-around was all-time high. And although you want energy, you want it to be channeled in the right direction, because that energy can quickly become anxiety if things don't go right. And what I was trying to express to them during the game was, it was not about the crowd. And it really wasn't about North Carolina State. It was about us being us. We don't want to play out of character. We don't want to do things that we haven't practiced, or try things so quickly that it leads to better opportunities for NC State than it actually does us. And to control your emotions in an environment like that, you were there, Michelle,
It was
place
crazy.
was
It was so
berserk.
loud. The decibel level was unbelievable in that building.
And so it's easy to get caught up in that height. And I just felt like those guys needed to know, hey, the coaches are here with you. You know, we're excited too, but we must remain calm. And during that time of the game, if you're observing me, I'm trying to set the example of calm. That I'm not getting emotional, I'm not worried about the referees, the crowd, the opponent, really focused on, okay, what do we need to do to play a little bit better? We're playing okay, but we're still not totally in sync. And so, I don't know why I said that, just the way I was feeling at the time.
Before yesterday, Reggie had kind of been struggling offensively. What was the difference for him, you think, last night?
Well, there were kind of two different personalities at work in the shoot-around. Kenny Kaji was bouncing off the walls, and Reggie was really focusing internally. And I think when you're a player like those guys are and can play at a very high level, you want to be totally included in every aspect of the game, meaning on offense, you want the ball. And you don't want to be taken out of the game. And my responsibility is to try to maintain balance in that. But as the game wore on, it was very clear we were not shooting the three ball very well. We were 1 for 13 at halftime. And we needed to do something to get the ball inside to our bigger guys, Reggie, Kenny, Julian. And I think actually Reggie called the play. It's called horns, and it rotates him inside. He starts outside, but he rotates inside. And we were able to throw the ball to him several times in a row, and he delivered. And as a coach, once you find something that's working, a certain lineup, a certain play, a certain defense, you go with the flow. And we ran that play probably 15 straight times. And Reggie got his hands on the ball a lot. Julian got his hands on the ball some, and Kenny Kaji got his hands on the ball some. So each of those guys was able to produce, and in Reggie's case, it's probably been quite a while since he's been in that competitive position with the ball in his hands in the second half, because he hadn't played so long. And coming back, you just don't get back to the rhythm, into your natural rhythm, just because you're back playing. You got to get kind of used to your teammates, and your teammates have to get used to you again.
Jim, a couple weeks ago, you guys were unranked, and you didn't have many TV cameras here and stuff. And in 2 weeks, a lot has changed. Jay Williams is your Final Four team. People have you as number 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. Is this anything like 2006 at all in terms of the total change and maybe perception?
Yes and no. Yes, in a sense that we started to get national consideration in late February after we beat Wichita State in the bracket buster game on ESPN national television, and got ranked, I think, 24th or 25th in the country on that Tuesday. But we quite quickly fell out of the rankings when we lost a game the following week. This is obviously happening much earlier in the regular season in January, and there's still 10 conference games remaining. So we're not even through the halfway mark of the conference race, so it's still way too early to know what it's going to be like at the end of February and the 1st of March.
Hey, Coach, during the game, what made you go with Ryan Brown on Lewis in the second half, and also I think Scott was on Wood quite a bit? It was like cross matchups.
If in noticing that, you have to understand that NC State is a tremendous fast break basketball team. They created the matchups because that's how they guarded us. So we didn't want to get crossed up in transition and have Tyler Lewis catching an outlet pass on one side of the floor, while Shane Larkin was being guarded by TJ Warren on the other side of the floor. So our rule of thumb is guard who guards you, so that we don't give up fast break baskets. And even though there was one incredible offensive play by C.J. Leslie where he got the rebound, he drove it the length of the floor and dunked it late in the game, like there was nobody stopping him. But for the most part, we did slow down their fast break in the last 10 minutes of the game.
Can you talk about some of the ball movement? A couple of us were noticing who've covered the team. Like some of those plays where Shane would drive and then give it to Kenny, who would give it to Julian, who would dunk it. You know, like they're like a sequence of 3 passes, whereas in the past this team didn't tend to do that so much. Is that
Which team?
the University of Miami? I'm saying before you got here.
Oh, no.
Okay, so no, I'm wondering how much of that is Shane's vision and the guys just being more mature. How much of it is something that you instill in them about the extra pass, making the extra pass? Because they seem to be doing that more than they did before.
In preparation for all our games and in every practice, we use an expression, all the coaches do. And it's about including everybody in the offense. So when we run a play, the expression is, everybody's got to touch the ball before we shoot it. Now, under game conditions, that's not going to happen all the time, but it should happen over a period of possessions. So if we come down the floor 3 possessions in a row and only 1 or 2 guys touch it, we're not playing our kind of offense. But over 2 or 3 possessions, if everybody hasn't touched the ball, that would be a great concern of mine.
Jim, you talked about how you wanted to be level-headed during the game. How do you keep your team level-headed during this week?
Well, I think that's the whole thing of being focused in the present and preparing one game at a time. As soon as the North Carolina State game was over, I told them the same thing I say after every game. Enjoy this for the rest of the day, but tomorrow we begin preparing for Boston College on Tuesday. And they kind of have gotten that message now that you can't rest on your laurels. You can't look at how you played in the last game and think that's the way you're going to play in the next game, because every game is different, because every opponent is different. Every player you guard is different than the guy you played in the last game. His strengths, his weaknesses, his size, his speed, all of those things change, so the game changes. And during the course of the North Carolina State game, and this is something I said right after the Virginia Tech game to our players. I said it before Virginia Tech, I said it after Virginia Tech. The Virginia Tech game was the perfect challenge for us because they constantly were changing defenses. And we hadn't seen zone in a while. And Virginia Tech threw a zone at us for a substantial portion of the game. And North Carolina State went to a zone with 5 minutes to go. And had we not seen that zone in the previous game, I'm not sure how we would have handled it. But because we had handled it, because we won that game, our players were comfortable knowing what we want. And that kind of preparation of staying focused one game at a time, knowing what the opponent may throw at you, and then know what we want to do when they do play that defense. And the reverse is also true. We played a defense in the last 3 minutes, that we haven't played since game 2. So North Carolina State, they had to make a quick adjustment, and fortunately for us, it led to a Shane Larkin steal and a Durant Scott basket.
I want to ask you about the crowd last night. I want to know the crowd, but some students showed up to meet the bus. Can you talk about what the scene was like, and when the bus pulled up or whatever? Can you kind of describe what happened here?
Well, our sports information director, Amy Woodruff, let me know on the bus that the students were gathering outside the Bank United Center to greet the bus. And of course, that's, I think, very, very special. You know, you got to remember our players are students, and to have the support of the students is very important to them.